Hey, what's up? I'm calling to you today because I wanted to talk to you a little bit about contracting and something that happened to me. I was dealing with I was running out of storage, and we didn't have enough storage for our business, so we decided that we needed to put up another building on the property. And we priced out a building, we priced out somebody building it, and it was just way too much out of our price range of what we had to invest in. So we decided to go with a metal building. It was designed in North Carolina. We contacted them. We got the plans. We went and submitted our permits. We got all that stuff done. And I was faced with putting the building on just the ground or putting the building on concrete. And I didn't want my stuff laying on the ground. I don't think anybody does when they put a building up. So I wanted the stuff on concrete. I wanted, this was a storage building. We needed to store equipment and stuff. So I was faced with trying to find a contractor to install a concrete pad, and that pad was 30 by 40. And I shopped around a couple different places, and there was a guy that I did work for that we worked together pretty closely, and we were good friends. And he said he could do it, and I asked him to give me a price on it, and he gave me a price. I said, okay. Well, about a week into the development and waiting for my permits, I get a phone call back saying that the concrete was too expensive and that he couldn't do it for that price. So I said, look, let me see if I can get the concrete cheaper. He's like, okay. So then it was the stone, and the stone was too expensive. So I ended up finding the concrete $20 a yard cheaper. I also found the stone, and I said, look, I'll pay for the concrete and I'll pay for the stone. So I had the stone delivered and dumped, and then we scheduled the concrete. Well, he was supposed to be here on a Wednesday to start the job. He didn't show up on Wednesday. And Thursday came along. He was supposed to have a machine delivered on Wednesday. Well, that machine didn't get delivered to 11 o'clock on Thursday. And he wasn't even on the job site then. So the machine got dropped off without his okay. And then he showed up at the job after the machine, only to find out that the machine had the wrong bucket on the back of it. It had a 2-foot bucket. It was supposed to have a 1-foot bucket to dig the footers. So, needless to say, he had to call back to the rental place. The rental place had to send a guy out, take that bucket off, put that bucket back on. So he didn't get started till late Thursday. Concrete was supposed to be delivered Friday. He was supposed to be ready for concrete on Friday morning because that's the time that we scheduled for the concrete to be delivered. So he dug the footers with the backhoe. He cleared the land, dug the footers, got the footers all prepped, and then he said, "My guys will be back in the morning to frame out the floor." I'm like, "All right, well." He then says to me, "Can I borrow your trailer to go pick up materials?" I'm like, "The contractor doesn't have a trailer. He can't go get materials." So I said, "All right, that's fine. You can borrow my trailer." So he takes my landscaping trailer, and he says he'll be back in the morning at 7 o'clock, and his guys will be here. Well, one of his guys showed up at 7. Nobody else showed up till after 9 o'clock, and he didn't get back here till 10. The concrete truck was supposed to be here at 11. So they had 0 forms formed up for the floor. Now, good thing that one truck was only going to do half of the footers. The problem was that in scheduling concrete, because you don't want it to dry, you have to schedule one truck after the other. So needless to say, right after 11 o'clock, there was another truck waiting. So that truck poured the footers. So now we got our footers done and we start to pour the floor, and they don't even have it formed up yet. It's not even formed on Friday morning. He gets, they start to form it up, and look, I'm not a concrete guy, but I've watched enough, concrete people. You can't put, you can't use OSB boarding for concrete forms. That's what he used. At least if you're going to use that, you got to make sure you have a kicker every 6 to 12 inches so the OSB doesn't bow. Needless to say, the the framing that they did for the concrete pad blew out. He had to rush to get the backhoe and put it up against it to stop it, and then pour the concrete, and then the floor was being poured. Let me just say, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare, and I ended up getting a subpar product finish. I mean, it wasn't. The walls were totally wavy. The floor was totally uneven. They never even floated it to level it off. It rained like 3 days later, and there was swimming pools all over the floor. And I'm like, this is not good. And his reply was, well, it's supposed to be like that. And I'm like, no, it's not supposed to be like that. Well, my building was supposed to be delivered that Monday. So I had a very, very short time. I had to call them to cancel the building delivery because we needed to find out a solution for the floor before we could put the building up because it was out of square. Some places was 31 and a half, some was 42, some was 39. Some were on one side of the 30 side was like 29 and 3/4. My building square is 30 by 40. So we ended up having, and it was so uneven. So I had to wait a week, and his solution was he was going to have a contractor come in. I got prices of a guy come in. He said, this is what needs to be done. We need to grind this down. We need to re-pour a 4-inch slab on top of this and bond it to the original slab so we can raise it up because in one corner it was so low that it was below ground level. So it was the most frustrating part of my life. I mean, absolutely furious, upsetting. I was at my wit's end. I was so angry by the time this got to the point of his resolution was to have somebody come up and epoxy the floor and thought that was going to solve the problem. Well, it smoothed it out some of the floor, but the guy couldn't get it all leveled. So now they bring my building up a week later. Then I find out that in order to get the building square and level, they have to cut it down on one side and raise it up on the other side. So now my building that is supposed to be 12 feet high is 11 and a half feet tall on one side and 12 feet on the other side. I'm just like, can anything else go wrong? I mean, really, can anything else go wrong? So they put up the building and we get our first rain. I opened the doors and I kid you not, I must have had about 6 inches of water on my floor. I could not figure out where it was coming from. Well, we did figure out where it's coming from. The right part of the building in the corner actually, like I said, was lower than the ground level. So when they did the transit, they put a transit up and they shoot a line across the property and they try to find the lowest point. Well, where he was set up at, he was higher than that point. He needed to be at the lowest point to shoot across to find the lowest point to raise that up high enough. So needless to say, that all the water now when it rains goes right in the building. So I have like a swimming pool in there. So then I was just like, okay, what am I going to do? So now I had to go and dig out all the way around the foundation, the concrete pad. I had to lay drain in there that wouldn't have had to been in there. I had to put gutters on the roof of the building so the water would not come over the side, would all drain out to each corner. And then he sends me a bill. He sends me a bill. So I gave him a deposit. I didn't give him all the money, which was good because never give a contractor all. That's one thing I've learned in my lifetime. Never give the contractor all his money. I don't even give half. If they need to get half, I learned a lesson that they're probably not a, um, a sustainable business. So I gave him a deposit that he utilized, and then after that, he sent me a bill. He sent me a bill for the remainder of the concrete. He sent me a bill for the what else did he send me for? The epoxy that was applied to the concrete to fix his mess up. And in all the time, he was never here to monitor his guys. He always left and had something else to do. And he didn't have enough people here. He had 3 guys here. He started off with 2 and then brought 2 more after when the form started breaking. I never paid him. I sent him a letter and I said, I'm not paying you for this catastrophe. I refuse to pay on subpar work. Now, legally, did we have a contract? Yeah, we did. However, the work that he did when I found out after the fact that he wasn't licensed. He wasn't licensed in the state of Virginia. He was running his business underneath his brother-in-law's license. And you know what he did? He ended up taking me to court. And I fought him. I fought him in General District Court under a civil matter, and I won. I won based on the pictures that I kept, the information I kept, and everything else. Don't let a contractor bully you. If you feel that you've been unjust by a contractor, then my suggestion is follow it through. I won in General District Court on a civil matter when we went to court. He actually filed an appeal, and we had to go up to Superior Court. And I had to go in there and take time off to fight him again in Superior Court. And you know what? We won again. We won again the second time after he appealed it. So, what's the lesson here? The lesson here is to make sure that you do your due diligence in making sure that that contractor is licensed, he's insured, bonded, and has a reputation. He's stable. And don't let friends talk you into something that you may think is a good thing or may not think is a bad thing. So what should you do? You should always check the DPOR for the Department of Occupation and Regulations for licenses. Make sure they're valid. Request their license. Request their insurance. Request this information from them. They're obligated to give it to you. If they choose not to, then that's probably not a contractor you want to do business with. So I wanted to give you that tip, a little story that happened to me. It didn't end well. It ended well for me, but didn't end well in the long run because I still have a building that gets water in it, and I really haven't figured out 100% what to do. But if you feel like you've been unjust by a contractor, you always have an avenue to go to. You could take them to court. You can refuse to pay and let them take you to court. But just make sure that you have all your documentation in a row. I had a lot of pictures. I had a lot of statements. I have a lot of text messages. I had a lot of stuff that I kept based on that. What you should do is the same. Always protect yourself from contractors out there. So that's my tip. Hope you enjoyed this information. So next time when you choose a contractor, make sure you choose one that's licensed, insured, bonded, and they can produce all these documents to you. Thanks. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.